The tracker under my car wasn't what destroyed my relationship. It was hearing my boyfriend look me in the eyes and calmly say, "If you have nothing to hide, why are you care so much?" That was the moment I realized he wasn't trying to prove I had betrayed him. He had already decided I had. My name is Ruth Ryder. I was 33 when my boyfriend, Marcus Hale, and I left Western Pennsylvania for Columbia, Maryland after I accepted an operations lead position with a defense contractor. It was the biggest opportunity of my career. Better pay, better benefits, and the chance to build a future neither of us could have afforded back home. Marcus hugged me the day I signed the offer. "We're finally getting our fresh start," he said. For a while, I believed him. The move felt exciting. We explored restaurants on weekends, unpacked boxes together, argued over where to hang pictures, and laughed about getting lost on Maryland roads. Looking back now, those first weeks almost feel like someone else's memories. Marcus had always made friends faster than I did. Within a month, he had a new social circle, and the loudest voice among them belonged to Derek Vaughn, a recently divorced real estate agent who seemed convinced every woman eventually cheated. Owen worked in human resources, Caleb was an emergency room nurse, and together they spent an incredible amount of time dissecting other people's relationships. Every dinner Marcus attended ended with another story: a wife caught lying, a girlfriend with a secret phone, a woman hiding a coworker from her boyfriend. Those stories slowly stopped being entertainment. They became Marcus's reality. At first, I barely noticed. He'd casually ask, "Busy day?" Then it became, "Who were you with?" A week later, it turned into, "Any men in those meetings?" I laughed the first few times. He didn't. Around our third month in Maryland, something shifted. If I came home 10 minutes later than usual because traffic backed up, Marcus would already be standing in the kitchen. "What happened?" "Traffic. You usually text." "I was driving." "You could have called afterward." I apologized even though I hadn't done anything wrong. I kept telling myself he was still adjusting to the move. So I started texting before meetings, calling after work, letting him know whenever my schedule changed. Instead of calming him, it seemed to encourage him. The more information I gave him, the more he searched for holes in it. One Friday, I stopped at Giant on Snowden River Parkway to pick up groceries. The lines were terrible, and I got home about 40 minutes later. Marcus didn't help carry the bags. He simply watched me. "What took so long?" "The checkout lines were packed." "Which store?" "The Giant." "Did you meet anyone?" "No." "A man?" I sighed. "No." "Are you sure?" I set the groceries on the counter. "What is happening to you?" He folded his arms. "So I can't ask my girlfriend questions now?" That sentence became his favorite escape. Every accusation was just a question. Every invasion of my privacy became concern. Every attempt to defend myself somehow became evidence that I was hiding something. Soon, he wanted explanations for every lunch, every delayed meeting, every male coworker whose name happened to appear in conversation. "My whole project team gets coffee together," I explained one morning. He nodded. 2 days later, he asked whether the coffee shop had been near the parking garage or the corner intersection. He remembered every tiny detail. Not because he trusted me, because he was testing me. The worst part wasn't the questions. It was how calm he remained while asking them. He never yelled, never slammed doors. He simply watched my face, waiting for the smallest inconsistency. One evening, Marcus left his phone on the nightstand while he showered. The screen lit up beside me. A preview of Derek's message appeared. "Did you check her car yet? Women always cover their tracks." I didn't unlock the phone. I didn't need to. That single sentence explained everything. The next morning, before leaving for work, I crouched beside the rear wheel of my car. Part of me felt ridiculous. The other part already knew what I would find. My fingers brushed something hard beneath the frame. I pulled out a small magnetic GPS tracker. For several seconds, I couldn't move. Marcus hadn't simply become suspicious. He had secretly decided to follow me everywhere. I wanted to storm inside and demand an explanation. Instead, I photographed the tracker from every angle and carefully put it back exactly where I'd found it. If Marcus knew I'd discovered it, he'd only become more careful. That afternoon, I called divorce attorney Veronica Shaw. "I'm not sure I'm leaving," I admitted. "I just need to know what my options are." She listened patiently before giving me one piece of advice. "Don't confront him yet. Preserve every piece of evidence. Protect your finances, your phone, and yourself." Her last words stayed with me. Protect yourself. Not protect the relationship. Not save the relationship. Protect yourself. For the next 3 weeks, I quietly followed every instruction. I documented every accusation, every strange question, every unexpected interrogation. I opened a separate checking account, copied our financial records, downloaded statements, and stored everything in a secure folder Marcus couldn't access. While reviewing our shared credit card statements, I found the tracker purchase hidden between a Target receipt and a gas station charge. He had bought it nearly 2 weeks before attaching it beneath my car. Only after everything was secured did I remove the tracker and place it on the kitchen counter. Marcus walked inside, saw it immediately, and froze. "What is this?" I asked. "You already know. I want to hear you say it. It's a tracker. You put it on my car. For my peace of mind." I stared at him. "You secretly tracked me." "If you weren't hiding anything," he replied calmly, "why would you care?" There it was, the sentence that changed everything. I reminded him I'd never lied, never hidden my phone, never disappeared without explanation. Every suspicion came from Derek's stories, not from anything I had actually done. Marcus didn't deny it. He simply shook his head as though I was too naive to understand and walked upstairs. For the first time since we'd moved, I realized the man I loved no longer trusted his own experiences. He trusted Derek's fears more than my honesty. A few days later, I discovered a location-sharing app on my phone that I had never installed. Marcus had quietly added it while I was showering. I documented the app, changed every password, reset my security settings, and removed it. When I confronted him, he didn't apologize. "If you're innocent," he said, "it shouldn't matter. It matters because it's my phone." "No," he answered. "You're becoming secretive." I suggested counseling. He refused without thinking. According to Marcus, the problem wasn't his behavior. The problem was that I kept making him suspicious. Veronica told me to keep documenting. Then Marcus began showing up at my workplace. The first visit looked thoughtful. Flowers. Lunch. A warm smile for everyone who met him. The second visit felt different. He wasn't there to see me. He was there to observe. Who walked into my office? Which men spoke to me? Why a vendor's phone number was written on a sticky note? A few days later, our receptionist, Jasmine, quietly pulled me aside. "Your boyfriend asked who you eat lunch with, whether you stay late, and if you're ever alone with any of the men here." I felt my stomach sink. I apologized to Jasmine and asked her to call me immediately if Marcus ever returned. That evening, I finally drew a line. "You can't come to my office anymore." He looked genuinely offended. "I'm your boyfriend. And you're making my coworkers uncomfortable. I was only checking on you." "No," I answered. "You were investigating me." For the first time in weeks, Marcus didn't argue. He simply stood, walked upstairs, and closed the bedroom door. Most people would have seen that silence as surrender. I knew Marcus better than that. He had never accepted a boundary. He only looked for another way around it. I just didn't realize how far he was willing to go. 3 days after I banned Marcus from my office, my manager, Keith Lawson, called me into his office. The moment I saw his face, I knew something had happened. He closed the door behind me. "Ruth, security needs to speak with you." My stomach tightened. "What happened?" Keith slid a printed security photo across the desk. A man wearing a baseball cap had entered the building through the loading dock entrance during a shift change. He never checked in, never received a visitor badge, never signed the visitor log. The stairwell camera captured his face perfectly. Marcus. I felt every ounce of blood drain from my body. Keith wasn't finished. Security swept your workspace after reviewing the footage. He paused. They found a recording device mounted underneath your desk. For several seconds, I couldn't speak. Marcus hadn't simply ignored my boundary. He had broken into a defense contractor's building and planted surveillance equipment inside my office. My hands started shaking. Not because I was embarrassed, because I understood exactly what this could cost me. Our company handled government contracts. Security violations weren't treated like personal mistakes. They were treated like potential threats. Keith leaned forward. HR, legal, and corporate security are already involved. I've been documenting everything, I finally said. I already have an attorney. His expression softened. That may save your career. The next 2 hours were spent inside a conference room answering questions from investigators. Had I given Marcus access? Did he know security procedures? Had I ever discussed restricted projects at home? Did I know why he targeted my office? They temporarily collected my company laptop and work phone while conducting a security review. Walking out of that room felt like carrying a mountain on my shoulders. One reckless decision by Marcus could destroy everything I had spent years building. Before driving home, I called Veronica. She didn't hesitate. Go to the police today. Within an hour, I was giving a formal statement. I handed over photographs of the GPS tracker, screenshots of the tracking app, financial records, my timeline of incidents, and Jasmine's written statement about Marcus questioning employees. The detective slowly flipped through the folder. You've documented this better than most investigators. That afternoon, I also requested an emergency protective order. Everything suddenly became real. This wasn't relationship counseling anymore. It was evidence. When I got home, Marcus was sitting on the couch watching television. I didn't bother easing into the conversation. Were you in my office this weekend? His eyes widened for the smallest fraction of a second. Then he recovered. What are you talking about? You're on camera. Silence. They found the recording device. His face lost all color. Finally, he whispered, You forced me. I stared at him. If you had just been honest with me, I never would have needed to go that far. Needed? You broke into a secure government contractor. I was trying to save our relationship. You planted surveillance equipment inside my workplace. I needed proof. There was never anything to prove. He took one desperate step toward me. Derek said women always hide things at work. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Even now. Even after risking my career. He was still quoting Derek. I've already filed a police report, I said quietly. Marcus froze. I also have a protective order. His breathing became uneven. You... What? I hired a lawyer weeks ago. His knees nearly gave out. You were planning this? No. I looked directly into his eyes. I was protecting myself. I explained that I had documented every accusation, every tracker, every unauthorized app, every surprise visit, every conversation with my coworkers, every single incident. His expression slowly shifted from anger to disbelief to panic. Please, he whispered. Don't throw us away over one mistake. One mistake. I remembered the tracker beneath my car, the spyware on my phone, the interrogations, the receptionist, the recording device, the break-in. None of those had been accidents. They were choices. I've filed for divorce. The words came out calmer than I expected. Marcus began crying. He reminded me about our first apartment, our road trip to the Outer Banks, the night we celebrated my promotion. For a moment, I almost remembered the man I had fallen in love with. Then I remembered crawling beneath my own car, because another man had texted my boyfriend to check whether I was cheating. The feeling disappeared. I walked upstairs, started packing. 3 days later, I moved into a one-bedroom apartment in Ellicott City that Veronica had encouraged me to secure weeks earlier. The lease was already signed. My finances had already been separated. Every important document had already been moved. Leaving only took half a day. Marcus wasn't prepared for that. He expected me to fight. Instead, I quietly walked away. Unfortunately, Marcus wasn't finished. Within days, he began telling everyone that I had abandoned him. According to his version, he was just a devoted boyfriend who loved me too much. People started messaging me. Some said I was overreacting. Others insisted Marcus had only been scared of losing me. One mutual friend actually wrote, "Every relationship deserves another chance." I replied with exactly the same sentence every single time. The facts have already been documented. Then I blocked them. I had spent months trying to convince Marcus to trust me. I wasn't going to spend another month convincing strangers. The real battle was only beginning. The divorce became much simpler than Marcus expected. He assumed we'd split everything evenly and quietly move on. He had no idea how much evidence Veronica had assembled. Maryland's divorce laws no longer required proving fault just to end a marriage, but Marcus's conduct still mattered during negotiations. The GPS tracker, the spyware on my phone, the workplace surveillance, the police report, and the protective order all became part of the picture. Veronica presented everything in chronological order. Every accusation, every screenshot, every financial record, every written statement. Then came the surprise. During the company's investigation, purchase records showed Marcus hadn't bought just one tracker. He had purchased 3. The one under my car, the audio recorder hidden beneath my desk, and another tracker nobody had found. Veronica immediately told me to search everything I owned. That night, I emptied closets, luggage, jackets, backpacks, and my car. I finally found it hidden inside the lining of my gym bag. It had been there for almost 2 months. Suddenly, every casual question Marcus had asked made sense. How was the gym? Were you there long? Busy tonight? He already knew the answers. He wasn't asking to have a conversation. He was checking whether I'd lie. The police collected the third tracker as additional evidence. Marcus's attorney argued that everything had simply gotten out of control because of anxiety and bad advice from friends. The company saw it differently. Its security director testified that the recorder beneath my desk had been capable of capturing conversations related to government contracts. Whether Marcus intended to obtain sensitive information didn't matter. He had created the risk. Faced with overwhelming evidence, Marcus accepted a plea agreement involving stalking and trespassing. He received probation, community service, restitution, and strict no-contact conditions instead of risking far more serious consequences. The civil side wasn't much better for him. The company demanded compensation for the expensive security audit required after the breach. He settled. Then came the divorce mediation. Marcus's attorney requested financial support and a straightforward division of assets. Veronica calmly placed my evidence file on the table. Inside were the tracker receipts, screenshots, security reports, Jasmine's statement, and months of documented surveillance. No one argued very long after that. I kept the house. My retirement remained protected. There was no ongoing financial support. Marcus had spent months watching me instead of contributing to our future, and the records reflected exactly that. What surprised me most wasn't Marcus. It was Derek. The investigators uncovered messages showing Derek had encouraged Marcus to track me, recommended specific GPS devices, and suggested checking my workplace because, in his words, that's where women always slip. The moment lawyers became involved, Derek disappeared. He deleted the group chat, blocked Marcus, pretended none of it had happened. But Marcus had already forwarded months of those conversations to his email while trying to build a case against me. Instead, they became evidence against him. Owen and Caleb vanished just as quickly. The men who had spent months convincing Marcus every woman was secretly cheating didn't attend a single hearing. When everything became public, they simply walked away. Marcus's parents learned the truth through the legal filings. His father called me one evening. "Ruth, is all of this real?" "Yes," I answered. "I'm sorry." Those were the hardest words he said before the call ended. Later, I learned they confronted Marcus and urged him to accept responsibility. He refused. He still insisted I must have been hiding something. Eventually, even his parents stopped defending him. 7 months later, my life looked completely different. My security clearance was fully restored. My job was secure. I returned to the gym without wondering who was following me. I reconnected with old friends I had drifted away from during those exhausting months. On Saturdays, I started coaching youth flag football, something I'd always wanted to do but never seemed to have time for. Peace felt unfamiliar at first. Then it became normal. Before everything finally ended, Veronica sent Derek a formal cease and desist letter reminding him that his messages encouraging the surveillance were preserved in court records. He never replied. He simply disappeared from every place our lives had once overlapped. Months later, I heard Marcus had moved back to Pennsylvania to live with a cousin while trying to rebuild his life. People still occasionally tell me I should have forgiven him, that I should have seen a frightened boyfriend instead of a criminal. I always give the same answer. I forgave questions. I forgave insecurity. I forgave jealousy. What I couldn't forgive was someone who answered every chance I gave him by crossing another line. I didn't destroy our relationship. Marcus did. I simply refused to let it destroy me too.